Good evening and welcome to Canadian Football Fanatics Instagram and YouTube channel. We are coming at you for a special live stream here tonight on Monday, August long Monday. Hope everybody is enjoying their long weekend, their extra day off in the week. I know I am. Not having to go to work today, enjoying my day off, and excited to talk some Canadian football with CFL legend Andrew Harris here in a moment. Andrew will be joining us in a matter of minutes. But before he jumps in here, just quickly going to intro, do all the reminders, all the paying the bills, if you will. So let's get into it, guys. Andrew Harris will be joining us here in a matter of minutes to talk some CFL, talk some CJFL, talk all things Canadian football. And then afterwards, we'll maybe get into some questions from the chat, that sort of thing. But before we do, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you guys are tuning in on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the little notification bell so you guys get notified every time we go live here on the channel or upload any sort of content. So, as we're going to get into it, a few reminders. Getting into the month of August here, it is U Sports season kicking off here shortly. So in the process of getting together my Canada West previews for here on the channel. So I will be sitting down with, a coach from each of the programs in the Canada West. So that'll be 6 total episodes, 6 coaches I'll be sitting down with, chatting a little bit about their programs and previewing their upcoming season. And then with that, I sat down with former alumni of the Vancouver Island Raiders, now with the University of Windsor. Isaiah Johns, now a defensive assistant on the staff. Sat down with him earlier this afternoon, was able to record a podcast, kind of chit-chat a little bit about his journey growing up and kind of in football. And then as well, what he's got going on. He was actually able to get into the intern programship with the CFL this past offseason, get into the Ottawa Red Blacks training camp and kind of learn from the professionals, if you will. So super cool opportunity and super cool to kind of pick his brain on an episode. That'll be coming here in a few weeks with the Canada West previews as well. And then this upcoming week, it is week number 9 concluded in the CFL. So my CFL Power Rankings 3.0 will be out by Wednesday this week in same format as last time. I'll make a little graphic for the social media channels and then upload a video kind of explaining why I got who, where, on the YouTube channel as well. So that'll be exciting, and you guys can get ready for that content throughout the week as well. And then, as always, will be the weekly show on Wednesday with me, Coach Shane, and Blake. Blake and I will be releasing our game preview for the BC Lions Edmonton Elks game on Saturday morning, and then you can find Blake and I post game Sunday after the BC Lions take on the Edmonton Elks. So without further ado, I think that is kind of all our paying the bills, all our reminders. If you guys are enjoying all this content and stuff like that with CFL season kicking off, all the Canadian football kicking off, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. So let's bring in the man himself, a man that needs no introduction, future CFL Hall of Famer, one Andrew Harris. Andrew, thanks for joining me here tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Excited to chat a little bit about some Canadian football, pick your brain about what's going on. And obviously, our VI Raiders picked up a big win here on Saturday. So I'm also here to curious to hear about your thoughts on that as well. So how
Love
are
it.
you doing, though? You enjoying yourself? I know it's your first off season. You mentioned, kind of researching a little bit about the seamless transition into, your post-career and stuff like that. But are you enjoying your time, away from football, family time and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a summer in over 20 years. From training. Getting ready for training camps in April, May, June, and then just having that whole time of just being on the field. You get two bye weeks in a season, but definitely not the same. But yeah, just enjoying the family life and enjoying just being able to relax and keeping at arm's length away from football. But I got short arms apparently. Back on board with the Raiders. Took a bigger role just recently as a president. So just trying to get that team back on track to what we were, in my time there from 2005 to 2009. We won 3 national championships, 4 BC championships. Sent a lot of guys to university. A handful of guys to the pro ranks. And we're just trying to mimic that and give that same experience and better it. So getting our first win last week was big. first win in over a couple of years, and so we're just getting started, and I hope the league's a little bit on notice now that we're gone are the days are beating us 80-0. So we're excited to be competing again and in the mix, but it's been a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and from recruiting to revamping the coaching staff to trying to get sponsors. Just building a team around a team is so important. There's countless hours that from volunteers, from just the community that it takes to just run a team and do it properly. So it really takes a village to get this thing going, and but all things are trending the right way, which is great.
Yeah, so you talked about, having short arms. You have been, sticking around the CFL a little bit, and before we get into the Raiders, I'd love to pick your brain on kind of what's going on right now currently in the league. I know you were a little bit around Argos camp a little bit, and then I know you've been a busy man. I know you made some stops in Saskatchewan, seeing some of your old teammates. I know you got honored in Winnipeg there, and then kind of coming back out west and stuff like that. But still paying attention to the game. I know you actually kind of tuned into the post game show there last Sunday, I believe, for the Lions game. So I would imagine still keeping an eye on things and kind of being the pro that you are. I would imagine just the former players and stuff like that you keep an eye on, keep relationships with. So I'm curious to kind of get your thoughts with what's going on in the league currently, and maybe pick your brain on kind of your former team. So maybe if we start, east to west and go with Toronto, obviously playing without their quarterback right now, and you don't have to comment on that situation, but I still feel like a very good roster. They're built in the right way, which I think, having a good offensive defensive line kind of holds them in a lot of games. Kadeem Carey, I feel like, has kind of, found a new home coming over from Calgary and really done some good things. But I feel like Toronto, a lot of people maybe counted them out coming into the year without Chad Kelly being suspended for the first 9 games. But what have you seen from them so far through 9 games?
Yeah, honestly, I was in training camp with them for about 8 or 9 days leading up to the preseason game, and I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, they have lots of talent on defense, that was for sure, but offensively there was a few holes were kind of voided with just leadership, and then obviously not having Chad in the mix. I thought it was going to hurt them, but I was really surprised to see how they started. What I mean, and again, the heart of that team is their defense, led by Witten McManus. Just playing against him, playing with him, knowing the way he attacks practice, the way he games, and the way he attacks the film room. I just knew that was going to be the heart of their team. And got a bunch of great acquisitions. Jake Serezna, who's a force. He can play inside and outside on the D line. Sopik. They brought in a couple of guys on the defensive back, and then obviously on the offensive side, you got Kadeem Carey, who's been the workhorse for them, probably the most consistent player on the team, offensively for sure. But yeah, I mean they're middle of the pack, and the East is still, other like Montreal's taken away from everyone still. But I mean Ottawa's only got 7 games in. So they still haven't really caught up to where they're going to be sitting. They get a couple losses in there, and Toronto is right behind them. So I think once they get Chad back, that's going to make a big difference offensively, and I think they're going to have some growing pains within that too. Whenever you're missing a player, even if from injury or suspension or whatever the case may be, there's always a bit of some growing pains that will come in. I don't think it's going to be a smooth transition like everyone thinks it's going to be. But in the East, it tends to be the weaker of the two conferences, and you can kind of slide a little bit that mid-season, and everyone knows, the real season starts after Labor Day. So, they got a couple more weeks until they're at Labor Day, and if they can stay around that 500 mark, and maybe be a little bit above, I think they'll be in a good spot, heading into the playoffs.
You talked about, a few weeks before Labor Day, talk about your former team in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think a lot of people were, quick to throw, dirt on their grave and try to write them off as quick as they could, obviously with the success in the last few years. But, for me, even being a Lions fan, Lions supporter, whatever you want to call myself now, you know, I feel like as long as they have O'Shea, Zach Collaros and kind of that Brady Oliveira, I know Schoen's hurt this year and Kenny's dealing with some injuries, but I feel like as long as they have those three, they're going to have some stability there, and they're starting to find some success now. I believe they're up to 3-6 now in the season, with still eyes ahead of them in Calgary and Saskatchewan, and maybe they're able to chase down BC for that first or second seed. So what are you seeing from Winnipeg so far this year?
Yeah, I mean they definitely stumbled out of the start of the season, and everyone was counting them out. But I mean, it's a double edged sword. When you have that many veterans on your team, everyone's going to be that much older. I mean, I look at their O line. They got two guys that are damn near 40 years old. So I know how I feel right now. I'm 37 after a game, or even going to run around with my son for a little bit. So playing a full 18 game season is going to be tough at that age for sure. And I think that's just what's happening to them. They're just getting a little bit older. Maybe a little bit too much confidence in their past seasons, but they're starting to figure it out. To me, it seems like Zach's dealing with something a little bit. I don't think he's really throwing the ball like he has been, but he's also missing, Dalton Schoen. He's missing Kenny Lawler, and to me, a big piece that they lost was Rasheed Bailey. But he's still got Dembski. Tarski's hurt now too. So I mean, they've been juggling, injuries after injury, on offense. And defensively, again, they got a lot of new pieces in that back end, and in the front end. Really, the only constant two guys that have been in the mix with them has been Big Hill and Willie Jefferson, and those guys are always going to be consistent. But you need consistency throughout your whole defense, your whole offense, and for all it to be clicking. So they're going through growing pains, but they're really well coached. Probably the best well coached team in the league, just from a discipline standpoint. And just keeping just the culture in Winnipeg is something that I've never ever seen anywhere. In my 14-year playing, other than our glory days at junior, that culture is pretty unreal. But from a pro football standpoint, they got it figured out. They got it down to a science, and it's all about believing in your brothers, playing for your brothers, and you can see that they're really that's really starting to shine through now, and really leaning on each other. And again, it's great to see my little brother Brady just go crazy. To see, I mean, two Canadians leading and rushing and receiving, and then number two is Philpott in receiving. So love to see the Canadian players, ripping it up, leading the league in rushing, and then McInnes leading and receiving. It's just great to see. It's great for the game. I'm really proud of those guys, and it just shows that with this ratio and the way Americans look at Canadians in the CFL, that we got some ballers up here and we can put up some numbers.
Love it. Love the shout out. So lastly, let's get into the BC Lions. Something you dealt with the expectations, the pressure of a home Grey Cup back in 2011. You guys obviously fulfilled. Didn't start out the way, obviously 1-6, I believe, 0-5. End up, Cinderella story and finishing off. But what do you think they're going through right now with, the expectations as well?
Yeah, I mean, and they've been kind of dealing with injuries too. I know they had some O-line injuries. Catcher's been just getting back in the mix. Some injuries on defense. But I mean, I know RP. Personally, I know his attitude and the way he attacks things, and he's got those guys playing at a high level. And the one thing you have to understand is, like, when you play 18 games, it's so hard to stay at this peak, and they came out of the block hot. Vernon looks like he's hurting a little bit. And again, staying healthy is one thing, but playing at a high level for 18 games is really damn hard, and people watch film on you. The league's really small. You're playing teams, 3-4 times a year. We had a situation last year. We played Hamilton like 3 times in 4 weeks. And I mean, it's just like, it's ridiculous, right? So it's so hard. It's so hard to get momentum and keep momentum and keep that edge. Especially when everyone's gunning for you, when you're the top team in the West, like they have been. So, I mean, I think, yeah, they're just going through some growing pains. And again, just kind of get into that mid-season where, guys start getting nicked up. But this is really test your depth. Who's the next man up? Who's coming in to fill in? It's where you're going to find those guys that are going to, get big signings next year, or be the guy that's going to help you out to get you to the playoffs, win you a Grey Cup. This is where you really find, the depth of your team. And the heart and soul of who those guys are in behind, and really the longevity and toughness of your starters and your marquee players.
All right, Andrew. Last one. I lied to you before we get into some CJFL here. I'm curious. A mentor of yours, and I believe a former teammate of yours over there in Edmonton kind of took over the last few weeks. What are your thoughts on G-Roy and Jarius, and the high that they're on getting their first win, and what do you think they can build here down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I got so many people in Edmonton, and it's funny too. Like after I stopped playing, which is just this past year, I used to watch so much game film where I didn't even want to watch CFL football or NFL football for that matter. I'd turn it on, I'd fall asleep right away. We'd have our DV Sport. I'd be logging numerous hours a week, just watching so much game film and prepping that for me to watch a TV copy of a game. was not even a question. But this year, I'm flipping on every game I can, every opportunity I can, and I'm really enjoying it from um, armchair quarterback fan perspective, and really just cheering on guys like Giro, like Javon Leak, MBT, guys from all over the league, AJ Olette, like everyone's all. I got so many people on other teams now. So it's awesome to see them kind of do their thing and be in different roles. And watch them kind of go through the adversity through a season. And that's exactly what Edmonton's been going through, is some adversity. But they have the right leaders in place. They anywhere from Boris Beatty to MBT, Javon Leak, Curly Gittins Jr., all guys from that Toronto realm, and then you look at, the head office, G. Ray Simon, Jarius Jackson, unreal leaders, guys that are great football minds, guys that have been in the system and probably have seen, where things have gone wrong, but hadn't had the authority to maybe say something. But now it's their team, and they're going to take ownership in that and really take it to where it needs to go. So it's awesome to see them get their first win, and hopefully they can keep this going and making this the last half of the season a lot more competitive.
All right, let's get into it, Andrew. Let's get into some CGFL football, more specifically our Vancouver Island Raiders. Long overdue. I know you took over, I believe, last February-ish, if I'm not mistaken, February 2023, probably 20
Yeah.
last year. Long overdue, like I mentioned. How does it feel to get your first win of kind of the football operations tag?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you're playing junior, I didn't really realize, what it all took in behind the scenes. From just the day to day, to travel, to sponsorships, to organizing volunteers, and then there's the actual product on the field, your coaching staff, and making sure that everyone's taken care of, and got housing, and jobs, and so the list just goes on and on and on. And as a former player, all I was really focused on was I just got to go to work, go to my workouts, and then go ball. It's awesome to kind of be on the other side of it now, to understand what the kids are here for and what we're trying to get the best out of them within that realm, but also understanding how do we get the best out of that and give them the best experience with what we're dealt with and what we got going on in Nanaimo, right? So there's been a big learning curve there, and just working with Sean Abrasky, Jake Labarge, and the board, and just ironing things out, and smoothing things over, and seeing all the hard work that it goes into it. Again, like from a volunteer standpoint, it's a number of hours, countless hours, and blood, sweat, and tears, really. But it's all for the guys on the field, which is beautiful. When you get an outcome like we did last week, it just makes it all worth it. And again, just from the history of the last couple of years, it's been a struggle for sure. But gone are those days, and we're here to compete. And honestly, I was watching the streaming cast, and I was just glowing. I wish I was out there with the guys, but just seeing videos of how excited they were in the locker room, and talking with Sean and Jake just through text, and I could just feel, I could just feel the vibe, and even last week against Oki, we had a close one down to the wire, but you could feel the energy within this team has shifted, the mindset. And now we just got to learn how to win, keep the game a lot cleaner, and just keep pushing forward. And I'm excited to see, where this season takes us and years to come.
So speaking about, Jake, Sean, two guys that I was able to play with throughout my Raider career, guys I know are, hard workers, high football IQ, guys are really their hearts and their minds are in the right places. So what gave you the confidence to, both select them to kind of, be the leaders of the tip of the spear, if you will, and kind of rebuilding this program, both defensive offense coordinator, obviously Sean's the head coach, but them really, putting in, hours recruiting, stuff like that, and really kind of putting a lot of time and effort into changing things around for the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean the big thing that jumped out to me with Sean and Jake was, obviously they're ex players, and junior football is a unique game. It's not pro, it's not CIS or U Sport. It's definitely unique in a lot of ways. So I think the big thing is understanding that they know what it takes to be a junior player. They've been in that field, they've been in those cleats, and they understand what it takes. Then the next part was, are they great football guys? They understand the game, you know and they really did, and their vibe and energy towards it, and wanting to to take this thing to the next level was very apparent. And then for me with Sean, he works with the guys year round, training with them at Cage Athletics. So he's building that bond with them, in the off season. He's with them every day, around them all the time, getting to know them. And that's what that trust builds, that confidence builds in one another. And when you got a guy that's around and pushing those guys off the field in the gym, and then he's teaching them and coaching them, at practice, that trust and that brotherhood is just going to be like this. So that's really shining through right now. We have a very young coaching staff. I think majority of everyone that's on our coaching staff had played junior or for the Raiders at some point, which is unreal. And that's kind of what it was when I played. We had a lot of ex-players that moved on and just came and coached with us, and it was a brotherhood. It takes a certain kind of player and a certain kind of mind to be into junior football, and I'm just excited to try to grow this thing, and have a lot more athletes take the route that I did, and getting that jump from CGFL to the CFL. It's not an easy one, but it's very doable. And there's a lot of great players out there that aren't necessarily school people, school kids, guys that want to go into trades, or maybe they didn't do so well in high school like myself, and found another league to play in, but were able to platoon themselves into having a great CGFL career, and then getting an opportunity to crack a roster and do that, and take it and run with it. So I'm just excited to kind of and helping guys get to that next level, but also if it's not pro, if it's not university, if this is their last stop, just making sure they have everlasting memories and brotherhood, and just a great experience for them to kind of live on their lives and be better men after.
Yeah, I really respect Sean. I think, not only has he started to, rebuild the foundation of the Raiders program, but I think as well, really put a lot of energy and kind of passion into the football and the Nanaimo community as well, with, doing the training and stuff like that with Cage and stuff. It's been really cool to see with him, taking teams to, 7-on-7 events and stuff like that, stuff that, wasn't available to us when we were kids. So I think he's going to do a lot of good things, and excited to see when, a few years down the road here. I think the Raiders only get better, and football in the Nanaimo will get even better as well. So going back to Saturday, I think kind of every program wants to start with, a face of a franchise, probably being a quarterback. Obviously, going back to your days, you could be a running back. But it seems like we found one. And, Sadler Smith, for a lot of years, the Raiders have been, very lucky and blessed with quarterback play, going back to growing up. I remember the glory days of watching Jordan Yance on Saturdays, throw a lot of touchdowns and for a lot of yards, getting into some of those, Liam O'Brien's, stuff like that, and then getting to play with Jake. And obviously respect Jake's game and his resume and stuff like that. Kind of fell a little bit away from that, obviously from the few years. No slight at Ben there, but finding someone that can be a face of your franchise. Obviously, a guy that's an American coming out to play Canadian football for the first time, so he's still gonna be going through his trials and error, learning the game and whatnot. But what can you say about his performance? 500 yards, 7 touchdowns on Saturday, video game type numbers, and what do you expect for him to kind of continue to lead your program?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got in contact with Sadler, back in January, or maybe this is even before that. But just talking with him and going, understanding why he'd want to come up from the States and play football here. This is a kid that had record breaking numbers in Wyoming, and just absolutely got demolished his high school career. Then kind of fell around and line up at a JUCO where a lot of transfers would come in, and he was never getting an opportunity. So he just wanted to play football. He just wants to be on the field and play ball. And he's gotten that opportunity. Obviously, there's been some growing pains, just learning the game and understanding. And I anticipated a bit of a slower start, but he seemed to found his groove. But he just wants to be on the field. He wants to ball, and he's a natural leader. I remember just asking him, hey, can you give a guy a call here? A new recruit we're talking to, or and there was no hesitation. He's on the phone. He's picking the phone up. He's talking to the guys. He's adding guys on Instagram and really just cementing himself as a leader and doing it by example. They think they're leaders, and they try to act like leaders, but they're not. There's no action. It's all talk. And he's really stepped out the page for me, just from his leadership, and his willingness to win. And I think, yeah, that we just got a taste of how great he can be, and how great our team can be, with his leadership. So, absolutely, absolutely super blessed to come across him. All of our import players, definitely special characters, character guys. But I mean, especially when you can find an older guy and that's has some experience, but he hasn't played a football game in like 2 or 3 years, right? So his last 2 games or last 3 games, that was his first action in a minute. So I thought he handled it really well, and again, he's going to just get better and better as the season goes on, which is a scary thought to think.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing how he continues to get better and better. Obviously, going to be some pivotal games. I think he's going to be a big part of keeping the Raiders in and hopefully getting some victories for us. So, you talked about paying attention to the streams on Saturday. You were I saw you at the game, the Okie game, the home game. Who are maybe some standouts to you? I know Ruben, Paul specifically have been kind of been big targets for Sadler the last few weeks. I believe Paul was up over 160. I think Ruben had 140. I want to say Ruben's still leading the conference in receiving. So who have maybe been some standouts to you as far as offense, defense? Anybody maybe that's been nice to watch so far through the first 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, man, Ruben Bonsu obviously stands out. He's leading the league in receiving. Another kid that we got from out of Toronto 2 years ago, really just kind of got into his own, fell into his own this year, and you can really see the confidence. Paul Romanoff's playing well. Blaze McCarty's playing well. Our O line, our center has been an absolute dog. Jake, he's been absolutely killing it inside. Our running back, Owen, he hasn't had a big game yet, but he's getting some tough yards. He's from Elmwood, Winnipeg, probably one of the toughest schools in Winnipeg. So I expect nothing less, the way he runs the ball. We got to do a better job of kind of springing him and giving him some more room. But on offense, those guys for sure. Kaya on defense has been consistent. Philip, our boundary corner, has been lights out. Savion Townsend has been awesome. Um, Colton Finstead, rookie linebacker. These guys have all really stood out. But I mean, the thing about our team is we have so many 18-year-olds, and to put us in comparison to some of these teams who are maybe 30 or 20, 28, 22-year-olds or 21-year-olds compared to our 30 plus 18-year-olds. We're going to be one of these teams if we're competitive right now. Just watch out, in a couple of years as we continue to build and grow. But we're always trying to find guys that'll be good fits for the team, and that's the biggest thing. And I think the team itself, through the leadership of the guys like Kaya, Paul, Sadler, Caleb, our leaders on both sides of the ball are really getting this team to gel together right now. And you can really see how the confidence within each other, the brotherhood, that they actually care about one another and they're actually playing for one another. They're celebrating with each other. It's not there's no me guys, which is great to see. Because when I came into this team a couple years ago, there was a lot of the culture was not where it needed to be, and there's a big shift. Again, that starts with guys like Sean and Jake and our leadership, and yeah, it's been really exciting to kind of be outsider looking in, and try to give leadership standpoint from just looking down in on the guys, but also giving them the free reign to let them run their team the way they want to do it, and see the success that they're getting out of it, which is amazing.
I'm glad you mentioned Owen, a guy I've been a fan of through 3 weeks. I thought he's been running pretty hard, not getting obviously the numbers that maybe you'd like, but as well, kind of splitting time. I know Jack's been included as well, kind of running the ball. I thought kind of been a nice little 1-2 punch for the Raiders.
Yeah,
When they
Jack's special, man. We got to find a way to get him some more space, because we had our spring camp. It's a super scrimmage, and he's a really elusive guy, that we got to get the ball into special situations too. So we got lots of weapons, and we got a guy that can get him the ball. So it's again, we're just kind of scratching the surface here, and really excited to see the rest of the guys kind of shine through and get their opportunities when they come, and make the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Owen was able to find the end zone for his first touchdown. I don't know if that was his first touchdown of the career or first touchdown of the season, but nonetheless, a nice play by Souther as he was getting taken down, scrambled to his left, found his running back in the flats there. So let's get to go back a few weeks, Andrew. You were in town there for the home opener versus Okanagan Sun. A game I feel like we really let the sun off the hook. I feel like we should have been on the we should have had a better result with that one. But what were your thoughts from an atmosphere standpoint and kind of a community? I feel like the community really came back out, supported us, and was a really good showing.
Yeah, I mean that weekend was bathtub weekend. There was a baseball game right behind us, and I haven't really been, too tuned into how many people are coming to the games before, but from what I've heard, it hasn't been great. So I think we had over 1,000 people there, with bathtub and a baseball game going on behind us. So that's an amazing showing. From a team that hasn't won a game in a couple years, the city really came out and supported us, and absolutely amazing, and we absolutely need it. We are nothing without our sponsors, our volunteers, and the community in Nanaimo. And I feel like there's been a bit of a void, and hasn't been as smooth as it should be. But we're just trying to rebuild those relationships, and ultimately give the best product on the field. On Saturdays when the Raiders are in town. So the guys that just did just that. They balled out. It was back and forth, back and forth. We came out, flying, 10-0 out the gate. I felt like in the third quarter we kind of went through this lull. It was just 2-0, 2-0. Our punter got hurt, and we just waffing balls and nervous. I was like, okay, it's a young team. How are we going to handle this? How are we going to handle this adversity if they come back and get up on us? And they did. And what the guys did was they fought back. They punched back. Just came down to a missed error. Which after review probably was an incomplete pass and not a fumble. But the ref calls what they calls. Unfortunately, we don't have challenges in the CGFL. But yeah, that was a close one, and to cough the ball up on your what I think was our 20 or 25-yard line. I think they punched it in 2 or 3 plays, and we only had 40 seconds left. But again, that's one of the best teams, if not the best team in the CJ in the BCFC, and we went toe to toe with them after them beating us like 80-0 the year before. So obviously not a win, but a step in the right direction. And we're going to be excited and chomping at the bit next time we get a chance to play Oki. That's for sure.
All right. So, to talk a little bit more specifically about you, obviously, family man with a young family and stuff like that. I believe I asked you in our little interview together there at spring camp, but just to, for whoever didn't maybe tune in or whatever, why was it important for you to kind of give back, give some of your time, a lot of time and effort to, recruit and stuff like that? Like I mentioned earlier, been, back in Toronto going to training camp, you're back out here for games, you're coming to whatever you can, the golf tournament, stuff like that. So, why was it important for you to kind of, could have enjoyed retirement very easily, could have stayed back in Toronto, Winnipeg, wherever you're calling home now. But instead, you're really trying to change things and really turn things around here.
Yeah, I mean, initially my plan was to coach, but I wanted to step away from football, like I said, and I'm not doing a very good job at it. But if I was coaching and on the field every day, I'd really be taking my time away from my family even more. So when I initially kind of came on as football operations, I wanted to just kind of be in and out and help where I could. And just as recently, stepped into the president role here with the team. And that's a little more hands-on, but again, we have a lot of great support with the board and in Nanaimo, and really have a lot of faith in them and doing things the right way. And it just came down to just having maybe just more of a leadership role within the executives and from the back end of the team. But the reason why I wanted to get back involved was to just help these guys, relive the same experience I had. Junior honestly saved my life. I was a complete shithead, for lack of better words, coming out of high school, and no direction, misguided, didn't trust anyone, including my own mother. Just I was really jaded, and had no one really to count on. When I came to the Raiders, that was the first time I really felt like I had family and a brotherhood. you know, got a job right away, started working, and got my own place. And, I just really put all the work into, just being with my brothers and playing junior football, which was my life. And, it saved my life. And the experiences I had, you know, some of my best friends to date, are guys I played junior with, um, and I even lost two really good friends that I played junior with. Heartbreaking, and really really affected me in a lot of ways. Just that experience playing junior football in Nanaimo. So for me, having more time now and realizing the impact it had on my life, it was a no-brainer for me to get back and involved. I just knew it was going to be that the hard part was going to be figuring out exactly where I was going to be, how much and what the capacity would be. But there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to help out as much as I could in any way or fashion possible. So I'm at where I'm at right now, and try to be there as much as possible. I talk to Sean a couple times a week. We're just stuff, and with the board, we're constantly on the phone, and planning trips, and just getting this thing back on the right track. And again, I'm really just proud of the players involved. First off, because those are the guys that are putting the work in, the coaching staff, and then again, like I said, all the volunteers, and the board that put all this work in behind the scenes. But again, this team meant the world to me at a young age, and I'll always bleed red and black, until I die. So for me, it's just paying it forward. Really, this team gave me so much, and I gave the team a lot too. But it was a mutual respect, and something I'm just always gonna be a servant to this team, just based off of my experience and what it gave me.
Hadi Abassi, I know he's a mentor of yours and a big part of Raiders history, and should be remembered for sure. What does it mean to you to be, giving kids the same opportunity that, Hadi gave you, right? A kid that you mentioned about, being troubled, just shithead to quote yourself, and kind of him, like you kind of touched on, we'll talk about the documentary if you don't mind in a little bit about,
Yeah.
him giving you an opportunity and kind of you really trusting him and Snoop to come out here and really, find yourself, if you will. And what does it mean to you, to be that, to, essentially be Hattie to a lot of these kids right now? You're giving the opportunities to these guys to, earn a paycheck, whatever it may be, get a, 9 to 5 job, come out here, play some football, really, have some lifelong memories with their brothers and stuff like that. So what does it mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would never imagine that I'd be in a situation, to be, a mentor. And to me, like Hattie truly was, and Snoop, like big brothers and father figures to me. Not that I'm saying I look at myself that way, but in a way, you kind of are. You're leading a group of men, with have experience and wisdom, and you are that mentor, and you're kind of guiding them, down this path as young men, as young coaches. And it's a lot of responsibilities for sure, and one I take very seriously, and one I have a lot of pride in too as well. So I know how much those men meant to me, and where they got me. So I also bear that responsibility, as I know the power that I can have in these guys' lives, and the influence, and the mentorship. And again, it's a little different because I'm not there every day. But again, this is where we're at, and I think it's going really well. And much as I'm trying to be out there and be with the guys, but I think it's more so from just leading from example, and from the things that I've seen, and how we should kind of work things and do things. And but also, again, having the trust in them and giving them the free reign to let them do how they run the team, how they want to run the team. The best, one of the best coaches I played with is Michael O'Shea. And he really let the team handle itself internally. It was really a players ran team, but with just a little, a guy up top kind of working the strings to a certain degree. But any issues were handled internally. Any disciplinary stuff was handled internally. It was really just the players ran the team, and we kind of just disciplined ourselves, and held each other accountable within ourselves too. So that's the same kind of motto I'm trying to live in the still. And we also had a saying, it's either fit in or you forfeit opportunity, or F off. So that's kind of the same thing we're trying to do here. And finding and fitting in, it just means finding your role within the team. You don't need to change yourself or who you are, but you got to find your role within the team, and make it work. Right? Everyone has a role. Everyone has a way of doing things. Everyone has strengths. Everyone has weaknesses, and we need to be able to highlight each other's strengths and support each other's weaknesses as best as possible. and that's exactly what we're doing, where we're trending, and it's pretty beautiful.
Absolutely. I think that's a super hard when when you're a little bit younger to understand. Everybody has a role. Sometimes you think, maybe I'm a first year player. I need to start, and you don't really understand. You have a role to, maybe it's run scout team to the best of your ability and give the ones the best look in practice. But you have a role, and it's a big time role. So, couple
Yeah, I
more,
mean, when
Andrew.
I
Before
when I first when I first came to Nanaimo, I thought I was going to be the starting running back, but we had Jaden Smith, and I played receiver for basically the first my first 2 years, and that was my role, right? And everyone's got their story and their the way they got to where they're at, and it's about understanding how to navigate that with grace, and with pride, but also still challenging yourself to, you might see yourself in a different role, but how are you going to change that? How are you going to attack that? Are you going to do it disrespectfully? Are you going to do it with attitude? Are you going to do it just with hard work and proving that you should be in a different role, understanding that your role you have, it needs to be played out too. So it's a tough dynamic for sure. Understanding that and believing in it and seeing it are two totally separate things, but essential for all great teams, all great businesses to be successful.
Yes, well said, well said. So two more for you, Andrew. I'm curious, three national championships, I believe a few 400-yard games in there. We want to talk about video game numbers. A lot of memories, I'm sure, throughout your Raider career. Is there any maybe memory that jumps out to you that you'd like to, share maybe on the show here tonight? Like I said, a lot of I remember going to Caledonia in the back in the day, and usually it was a good day on Saturday watching Andrew run wild. So, is there anything that maybe jumps out to you throughout your Raider career?
Yeah, I mean, so many. I mean, just I think the biggest thing for me was like the day to day. We worked from like 6 till 3 o'clock, and then we'd all meet up and like quick barbecue or something, get some food on us, and we'd head down to the river, or Westwood. Always like a group of guys just hanging out, and then we'd mob to practice, and then we'd go get some food after, and it was just like those memories, just not like a particular time, just that day to day. To me, it was just unreal again. And I came from a place where I had no brothers and sisters, had no real parents that I could count on. My friend group was a disaster at the best of times. So I mean, for me, being in an environment where we had a bunch of guys from all different walks of life, but we're all like, we're on the same goal, the same path, and that was to, be great on the field. And we had guys from Toronto, Nova Scotia, Winnipeg, Regina, Calgary, all over the place, just like it is now. But to me, those memories, those day to days, were the best. I mean, better than winning national championships, run 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. That stuff's awesome. Honestly, it is, but and you appreciate this after you're done playing more so, that brotherhood, that bond that you only get in junior football. You don't get that anywhere else. You don't get that anywhere else because guys are in school, they have classes, or they have families and lives, and they're playing pro. And after we're done practice, everyone just goes and does their own thing for the most part, right? Where junior, especially in Nanaimo, because we have to do so much recruiting. There's not too many. There's probably more local guys on the team this year, or the last few years, than we ever had. But we have all these guys from all over Canada and all over the world now, and coming to Little Nanaimo, and you come together in that brotherhood. That to me was the best memories for me, like core memories and things that I'll never forget. Just that day to day. Playing wise, I mean, there were so many great battles against Victoria, where we're basically fighting in the parking lot after the game. Teams trying to rip my knee off. In the scrums, and just the comebacks, the blowouts. We beat Kamloops 97-0 one time, after our coach got fired. And just those crazy absurd kind of numbers were also fun. But for me, it's the brotherhood, it's the friendships, it's the lifelong bonds that I'll take with me forever.
So well said. I remember throughout my Raider career kind of having the same job as a few of the boys, working together during the day, going our separate ways for the first couple hours after work and kind of, eating food, getting to practice for, film, stuff like that, do practice and then hang out afterwards and kind of just, break bread, whatever it was, maybe talk about practice. Well said, and I miss some of those moments as well. So lastly here, Andrew, I know you were busy, going through your media tour and, going on a bunch of podcasts, stuff like that. but you recently released your running back relentless documentary. What was that like to film that, and what were your kind of expectations, I guess, with releasing that?
Yeah, when I got approached to do this the documentary, I really didn't really know how and where it was going to go and how we are going to take it. But after we started shooting and how honest and raw I was, it was really clear that there was a bigger message and kind of understanding. And I had to be really vulnerable, and it was tough. I mean, I was in a spot where I didn't really, again, telling you, I didn't really trust anyone and have anyone to count on. But to air that out and see how it affects you as a 37-year-old man and in my early mid 30s at the times, and it really affected me the most, was really tough to kind of navigate. But I've always said, I want to make an impact in people's lives, or not. I want to make an impact on the field, on a football team, and then I'm like, man, this is a great way to still make an impact in people's lives, and sharing my messaging, sharing my story, sharing some trauma and pain that I've gone through, but it's also relatable to a lot of other folks, a lot of other people, and not just football players. It is a story about a football player, but it's not a football documentary. It's really about perseverance, resiliency, and pain and trauma, and how you can channel that in a positive way. But also, if you don't deal with these things in the right way, get to a breaking point and how dangerous and scary it can be. And I was full on in a scary place, during that COVID year, and just being in a spot where I didn't want to wake up the next morning, and I pushed a lot of people away from me. I ruined a lot of relationships, and I just self sabotaged and but found a way out, through a couple of solid friends, talking with a sports psychologist, and just releasing that bullshit off of me, and just, focusing on, like, okay, what am I good at? Who I can confide in, and where is this pain and anger coming from, and channeling that into a positive way, which was, on the football field. But we all don't have football. We all don't have these great things, and as a young player, as junior player, these guys are going through all different types of things right now, right? They're young men for the first time. Some of these guys are away from home, and for the first time, and relationships and all these different things, and it's exciting times. But again, we're talking about the leadership and navigating that. I feel like my voice within this film has been, now in a mentorship in a lot of ways to a lot of people. I've gotten reached out to by a handful of people over the last couple of weeks, and just helping them, and letting them tell me their story, and hopefully just impacting and showing that there is some light at the end of the tunnel. If you look in the right way, and using that negative stuff you had weighing on you, channeling in the right direction, how it can kind of guide you out in the right way. But the first part is accepting it and letting it go, and find the best way to.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the watch, Andrew, and how you mentioned how vulnerable you were. Just hearing a few of the behind the scenes stories as well. Some of your Raiders days, obviously being a fan, but not hearing some of the you go into practice with the lines and kind of be in the float plane, the whole planes, trains, and automobiles to go to practice and stuff like that. So it's cool to kind of hear your journey, hear what you were doing, and at the time too, we were kind of talking about Brady and some of the Canadian talent, but at the time you really had to break through to be a Canadian running back in the league, and they probably didn't trust you enough. I know you spent some time playing a little bit of slot, I believe, for your first few camps or whatever with the Lions. So it's just cool to see how far it's come. But lastly, Andrew, before we get you out of here, why should the Nanaimo community come back out support the boys this Saturday versus the Langley Rams?
Yeah, I mean, first off, well, we're back on notice. I mean, I think our last 3 weeks, two tight losses and then a dub, and we're trending in the right direction. We got a lot of great, exciting players on all three sides of the ball: offense, defense, and special teams, that can make exciting plays. A lot of big hits, a lot of big runs, a lot of big catches. So yeah, I mean, we're we used to be the biggest show in town, and I don't think we are anymore. But we're trying to get back to being, the biggest show in town, in Nanaimo. And Saturday afternoons, at Caledonia, we're something special. Now we're NDSS, but it's not the same vibe. But let's get that thing rocking. And really, really, honestly, like 2 weeks ago against Kelowna was unreal. So we're excited to see what Langley's all about, and we're really trying to just put our best foot forward and making sure that we're stacking some good games and hopefully get a win, and just keep building on the season.
I think you might need to find us a pirate ship and another cannon or something, Andrew. It's not the same, but
Yeah, no,
I,
no
I
doubt.
I
No,
agree.
no one's really gonna know what Cali was like, man. It was something else, something else.
I,
And then the best part was always like the fourth quarter where we get there'd always be a train coming by around at like 3:30, 4 o'clock, right at that fourth quarter mark. So if we were down or up, whatever the case may be, that train would come by, boop, boop, and the whole place would go nuts again. So yeah, Cali was special for sure.
Being a NDSS alumni, I love that there's a turf field there now, and I love the Raiders play there. But nothing will be like Cali, especially for me being a young guy.
Yeah.
Obviously looking up to NFL
Well, the,
superstars.
the
But you,
goal the goal is to have that be our home field again one day. So hopefully in a couple of years we can get some more money coming in, and yeah, get that turfed up, proper grandstands, and that's the ultimate goal for me, anyways. But we're a lot of years away from that, but we'll see how it goes.
one step at a time. But like I was, going to Cali back in the day was like my, going to the Rose Bowl, if you will, of looking up to a bunch of you guys, especially, back in back in the glory days, as we were talking about. A lot of times, you went to Cali, you were expecting a lot of points, and the other team not to score a lot of points. So, Andrew, thank you so much, man. You've been so generous with your time. Coming back to the team with giving me some of your time and coming on the platform, stuff like that. It's been super nice to kind of pick your brain a little bit, hear some of these stories, and chat with you.
Absolutely, man. Anytime you need me or want me to come on, I'm happy to talk CGFL, CFL, NHL, whatever you want, man. I appreciate your support and what you're doing with the team, and it's just great to see, ex players or people, highlight, the CGFL, highlight, the Canadian football, because we don't have enough of it. So I appreciate all the work you do, and you're doing a great job at it. So salute you, buddy.
Awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much for everybody that tuned in tonight or anybody that's tuning in afterwards. If you guys enjoyed tonight's show and the content, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share on social medias. Follow us on Instagram at Canadian Football Fanatics, and we're on X or Twitter at _CF Fanatics. And that'll do us for tonight. You guys will see me, Coach Shane, and Blake on Wednesday night, and you'll see me and Blake Sunday night after the BC Lions game. That'll do it for tonight. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.